was just truth. Time to awaken, challenge their proof. Time to awaken, challenge their proof.
Hello everybody. Welcome to Twisdon360 Politics Unplugged, where we cut up the wires, shatter the screen, unplug the truth, and challenge the narrative, and challenge their proof. Today we are going to talk about explosive triple segment in edition of Twisdon360 Politics Unplugged. We journey from Tehran to Abuja to expose the crisis of power, how empires strike, regimes blunder, and politicians deceive. We talk about U.S. strikes Iran, America's bombing of Iran, and then we directly go down to Nigeria to talk about Nigeria's political illusion back home. A new party, the old Democratic Alliance, is in upon promises a political rebirth, but it's led by the same recycled elites from APC, PDP, LP. Is this a hope or another hustle dressed in populist slogan? Segment 3 is all the things that happened today about the Iran retaliating by attacking Al-Udeid air base in Qatar. Has backfired, attacking one of the few Arab states that gave it diplomatic oxygen, fractures regional solidarity. Revolutionary commentary from empire's bombs to Nigeria's broken ballot boxes. In this episode, we call for rupture, not reform. It is time for Nigerian and the global South to stop polishing their chains, but begins to breaking them down. Welcome to Twisdon360 Politics Unplugged. Now we're going to go directly to our episode where we are going to talk about three explosive issues, like we said. On Sunday night, the U.S. rebelled about what U.S. strikes rebelled about empire and Iran's future, while U.S. military planners spin these strikes as precision warfare or preemptive defense. Let's name them for what they are. A reckless imperial gamble. They signal not a desire for stability, but a return to brute force empire. This is the message to the world, particularly any country outside the NATO orbit. Submit or suffer obliteration by targeting Fordo and Natanz nuclear facilities buried under mountains and reinforced against aerial assault. The U.S. proved is willing to throw diplomacy to the wind in Isfahan. A crucial scientific hub is now in ruins, according to the U.S. This weren't a military bases or weapons depot. They were sovereign installation under international inspection component of Iran civil nuclear framework work. So what's the real message? We don't want compliance, we want control, and we will destroy even peaceful development if it threatens our hegemony. This is not about Iran's behavior, it is about Iran's independence. The strikes reveal that the empire cannot tolerate a multipolar world. Washington does not fear bomb, it fears defiance. Iran was following international norms, engaging in diplomacy through the JCPOA, and yet it was struck first. That's empire's logic. No crime but disobedience. No justice but submission. Spectacular success. That's what Donald Trump called it, as if turning another sovereign nation's critical infrastructure into rubble is something to be celebrated. If it is a rubble, but it is not. As if repeating Iraq and Syria will yield something or anything different. Let's be clear about what just happened. Fordo and Natanz, two of Iran's most fortified nuclear facilities, were hurt. with bunker bursters bomb Isfahan, a key nuclear research hub, and a third site was struck with over 2 dozen of Tomahawk cruise missiles. These are not warning shots. These are decapitation strike military operations aimed at eliminating Iran's nuclear future and its ability to defend itself from the imperial diktat. The US didn't just attack nuclear facilities, it attacked Iran's sovereignty, science, and strategic depth. What Washington has delivered is not deterrence, it is provocation disguised as preemption. It's empire in action, reducing diplomacy to ash and replacing negotiation with annihilation. By bombing Porto, built deep inside a mountain, the US used bunker busters, signaling a clear message: we will strike anywhere underground or overground. This is a psychological warfare just as much as it's kinetic, but it's also a taste. Will Iran break? Will it retaliate? Will it cross the nuclear threshold? Iran is patient, strategic, but it is also deeply wounded, and not just militarily. Its doctrine has always centered around strategic ambiguity, layered deterrence. It avoids direct war but empowers proxies. It plays long chase, not short checkers. It knows the cost of full-scale war, but it also knows the cost of appearing weak. So what's next? Iran will respond, but not where you expect. It won't be Porto for Florida. Iran won't bomb New York or launch missile at Tel Aviv. Instead, it will escalate asymmetrically in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Persian Gulf, empower its regional allies like Hezbollah and Houthis to apply pressure from multiple fronts, possibly strike at US military assets in Iraq or the UAE, or use cyber warfare to hit Western infrastructure and retaliate without attribution. Iran will shift its nuclear doctrine. This was the red line. The strikes have obliterated Iran's restraint, even if it doesn't publicly announce it. Iran may now begin high-grade uranium enrichment beyond 90%, shift from civilian energy to deterrent capabilities, harden remaining facilities further, or move them deeper underground, possibly to new undisclosed sites. The response will be time delayed but decisive. Iran's leadership will wait for the right political climate, intelligence window, and global media fatigue, but when it strikes, it will be calculated, be justifiable in Iranians' eyes, be framed as a national survival, not vengeance. Reactions from the United States House Democratic leader like Hakeem Jeffries said that Trump did not seek congressional authorization for the strike and will bear full responsibility for any adverse consequences. Rashida Tlaib, a Palestinian American congresswoman, says Trump's ordering of strikes on Iran without the approval of lawmakers is a blatant violation of the U.S. Constitution. Republican Congressman Thomas Macy, who has been leading a legislative effort to curb Trump's ability to attack Iran without approval of Congress, said the strike violates the U.S. Constitution, which gives lawmakers the authority over war decision. U.S. Senator Chris Murphy joined the Democratic chorus of criticism. I was briefed on intelligence last week. He said Iran posed no imminent threat of attack to the United States. Regional and global reactions are coming and pouring. Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Baghir Ghalibaf said Iran had been anticipating the U.S. attack on Fordo side and has long been evacuated and has not suffered any irreversible damage in the attack. The Atomic Energy Organization of Iran said that radiation system data and field surveys do not show signs of contamination or danger to residents near the sites of Fordo, Isfahan, and Natanz. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi condemned the strikes in the strongest term, accusing the Trump administration of colluding with Israel to violate Iran's sovereignty and destabilize the region. In his words, this is an outrageous and unprecedented violation of principle of the UN Charter. Iran will defend its territory and its dignity by all means necessary. According to the US Iranian ambassador in the United Nations, Amir Saeed Irabani, Iran's ambassador to the UN, has condemned the blatant US aggression following American strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites. He says that the attacks are another stain in the political history of the US. The official statement is not just rhetoric, it is a signal. The language mirrors Iran's wartime mobilization tone. Tehran sees this not as an isolated incident, but as an existential threat. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session following the US-led strikes, prompting sharp rebukes from several member states and renewed calls for a ceasefire in the Middle East as allies, Israel and the US, lauded the attack. UN Chief Antonio Guterres warned the region stood on the brink of a deadly downward spiral. And he's absolutely right, as we can see, the incidents of today prove that the region is at the crossroad. Nobody can deny that the region stands at the crossroads. The head of International Committee of the Red Cross said the international law isn't choice. And he's right. I mean, it's been applying. We have talked about that the empire chose to apply international law when it comes to a state that are non-client. But in a client or an ally, international law isn't working. There was a time that US was going to invade Hague to free its prisoners of war, war criminals who have committed war crime from the US. China strongly condemned the US attack, noting its nuclear facilities were under safeguard of the UN's International Atomic Agency, IAEA. And then we have somebody from Russia also who strongly condemned the attack. Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of Russia's Security Council, says that absolute majority of nations are against the actions of Israel and United States. Lebanon's Hezbollah, Palestinians group Hamas, and Yemen's Houthis, all allies of Iran, condemned what Hezbollah called the barbaric and treacherous US attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. Saudi said it is following with deep concern and development in the Islamic Republic of Iran, particularly the targeting of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States of America. Gulf nations, Qatar, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates all also expressed concern over what the attacks could portend for the region. And they are absolutely right, because the incident of today proved that they are right. The British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, backed US military action, saying the attacks alleviate the threats posed by Tehran's nuclear program. The European Union's foreign policy chief, Kaya Kallas, is calling for return to dialogue. Iran must not be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon, she said, as it would be a threat to international security. I mean, US attacking Iran is not an international security threat, but it is the Iran having a nuclear a threat to international security. That's crazy. The region is now one miscalculation away from full regional war. Israel is on high alert. US troops across CENTCOM, Central Command, are vulnerable. Gulf countries hosting US bases are now human shield for American aggression. The Strait of Hormuz could be closed. Global oil markets could implode. Inflation could spiral in the global south, and all because the empire couldn't accept that a country it couldn't control might still stand. These attacks will not disarm Iran, they will create the very threat the US claimed to be preventing. We have seen this before. Iraq had no WMDs, but got invaded anyway. Libya disarmed and was bombed into chaos. North Korea built a bomb and was left alone. Nobody dares attack them. And because they had a bomb, you cannot just attack them. Iran has now received the message only nuclear armed nations are safe. And if it builds the bomb, now history will remember the US made it inevitable. Don't forget, this is Twisdon360 Politics Unplugged. The question is no longer, will there be war? It is who profits, who bleeds, and who dares to speak the truth. And here we are to speak the truth. Then we got to go to the next segment. The next segment is going to talk about Nigeria and the ADA illusion. So now we turn to Nigeria, where another drama is unfolding. This time dressed in robes of political rebirth, a new political party. A new party has been proposed, All Democratic Alliance, or ADA, and with it comes a familiar question. Is this a genuine effort to rebuild Nigeria, or is it just the old ruling class rebranding itself to grab power once more? The ADA project was first submitted by a committee led by former Minister Rotimi Amechi. He described it as a movement for national rebirth. Other names floated in the coalition space include Atiku Abubakar, Peter Obi, Nasir El-Rufai, and several former governors. These figures represent different opposition camps, but they all have one thing in common. They have played the game before, they know the system, and many have benefited from it. Officially, ADA brand itself as people-centered, a credible alternative, a three symbolizing justice, idealism, vision, but strip away the poetry. And the root of this tree are unclear. What is the ideology? What are the values? And who decides? The Nigerian political landscape is littered with broken promises and recycled elites. Parties are pumped not around principles, but around personalities, emerge not from grassroots struggle, but from elite calculations. What Nigerians are asking now is simple. Will ADA be any different? Let's be honest. Power grabs in Nigeria don't wear uniforms. They wear Babariga and sit in coalitions. Even the current ruling party, All Progressive Congress, APC, was born out of coalition of recycled politicians who promised change but only delivered more of the same. Today, Nigerians are suffering of the consequences of that betrayal: economic hardship, mass unemployment, and deepening insecurity. The same APC, PDP, now LP politicians, those who ruined yesterday and rule today, are now rebranding through new alliances and fresh coalitions, yet their mission remains unchanged: protect their class interest, extract public resources, dominate the political space. These alliances have plunged Nigeria into excruciating, unprecedented economic hardship, hunger, multidimensional poverty, and a level of insecurity unseen even when military dictatorship. And what we are witnessing is not political evolution, it is elite survivalism. The elites wanted survival. This is an elite survivalism. The ADA dream sounds new, but the actors are seasoned politicians. These guys have been in the space. The question isn't whether ADA can form, it is whether ADA can transform. The barriers are enormous. Independent Electoral Commission has delayed registration of over 100 political parties. Rivalries between oppositions blocs are already weakening unity. There is no ideological coherence, no social contract. The ruling class across all camps had shown little appetite for real change. Some commentators have already called the ADA plan dead on arrival. Others said it is nothing more than political posturing, a desperation to stay relevant, a soft landing for powerful men with paling influence in a country where poverty, insecurity, and corruption have become daily headlines. Nigerians are tired of slogans. They are hungry for transformation. The only way ADA stands a chance is if it becomes more than a cocktail of old names. It must listen to the youth, the workers, the forgotten, the downtrodden, the market women, the people in the street, the talakawas. It must stand for something beyond votes. It must build an internal democracy rooted in justice, not just ambitions. Now, as a revolutionary Nigerian and a left wing Pan-Africanist, I say this with urgency. Nigeria doesn't need more coalitions. Nigeria needs a rupture, a break from elite consensus, a radical shift in how we organize power, distribute wealth, and define leadership. ADA or whatever name it chooses must choose a side, the side of the people, not the side of pockets of power, until we build a politics that centers justice, ends extraction, and returns dignity to the masses, to the poor Nigerians, to the talakawas, to the downtrodden. We will remain in this cycle of deception. The empire may be global, but our chains are local, and we will not be broken by the men who helped fasten them. This is Twisdon360 Politics Unplugged. We got to go to the next segment. Segment 3 is not planned in the broadcast, but anyway, it comes. Iran's strategic mistakes in Qatar. The Iranian regime just handed a golden gift to the empire, attacking the Al Udeid air base in Qatar, a country that has historically been one of the most balanced and friendly Arab voices toward Iran. Is not just politically foolish, it is strategically suicidal. Qatar has given Iranian space Qatar has given space to Iranian diplomacy when others slammed the door. Al Jazeera was once one of the few Arab networks that dared to critique US and Israeli aggression toward Iran's sovereignty, and how this, if Tehran were serious about resistance, it will not have struck Abu Dhabi, or would it not have struck Abu Dhabi or some Emirati base heavily aligned with US and Zionist regime? Would it not have targeted Ukrainian shipment as Israel does with impunity in Syria? Instead, it struck a country that once stood in a way of war, and in doing so, it has fractured the regional solidarity. Because the reports that are coming out that the Gulf has condemned in its strongest term what the Iranian just did. And also many countries in the region, including Saudi Arabia, including Kuwait, including Oman, they now ganged up against Iran. The biggest winners are Israel and the US. This move plays straight into the hands of the empire, destabilizing relations between friendly Arab states and Iran, isolating Tehran further, and giving Washington a perfect excuse to escalate militarily and diplomatically. This attack is condemnable, not just because it is reckless, but because it undermines the very anti-imperialist cause Iran's claim to champion. You cannot shout sovereignty while jeopardizing those who give you diplomatic oxygen. This will have consequences, and it should. We don't give the empire its yardstick to destroy us. We take it out of their hands. But today, Iran just sharpened them. This is Twisdon360 Politics Unplugged. Don't forget, the last statement is concerned about the Iran's behavior. The move that Tehran's spectacular behavior of attacking Qatar U.S. military base, Al Udeid military base. Why would they bomb UAE? where normalization with Israel is in full swing. Why not go after Israeli asset directly if resistance is your mantra? No, the wise choice is obviously is to attack Al Udeid airbase in Qatar, one of the few Gulf countries that still tolerated you diplomatically and engaged with you, and even hosted Al Jazeera, a media outlet that was practically your global mouthpiece when the world was silenced on your side. Brilliant and brilliant. I mean, I was angry by this action of Iranian against the Qatari, not because Qatar is innocent, not at all. It is because the Iranians has moved and recklessly, and I didn't expect them to just do that. And this is crazy, absolutely, isn't it? I mean, you cannot just shut down a person that is supporting you and just stand. I mean, when I talk about this Iranian action, I have gotten a lot of backlash from many friends, but I still stand my ground. You cannot just do that. A country that has been more friendly to you, you cannot just attack them. I mean, I stand my ground of being anti-imperialist and I'm against empire. Many people are telling me I'm just cloaking at strategy and forgetting about revolution. Yeah, absolutely. Its strategy is very important. You cannot just be angry. Iran striking Al Udeid in Qatar wasn't just another blow to US imperialism, it was blow to solidarity, to regional strategy, and to resistance that thinks beyond firepower. Qatar, while not perfect, had offered space for maneuver. Its media outlet gave voice to resistance when others choked it. It wasn't the heart of normalization. It wasn't UAE, it wasn't Bahrain, and it wasn't damn sure wasn't Tel Aviv. So yes, I call it a strategic blunder because handing the empire a propaganda goldmine, alienating one of the few regional states not fully colonized by Zionist interests, isn't revolution, it is self-sabotage. That's not defending the enemy. That's warning against helping the enemy win. And no, this post wasn't about you. This whole segment wasn't about you guys. It was about a wider critique that will always stand by. Let's stop mistaking anger for strategy and blind fire for resistance, because if we lose clarity, we hand victory to the very process we claim to fight. And that is what I'm saying, where many people fail to understand. The Iranian has to be very careful in their reaction. Thank you very much. This is Twisdon360 Politics Unplugged. We are signing out. See you in our next episode. It will be fantastic to meet later. Thank you very much. This is just Sunday, Monday, and Thursday episode. So we will meet in the next time. Thank you very much.